This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
My countrymen and my friends, I had hoped against hope that some miracle would prevent a devastating war and bring to an end the invasion.
This most serious threat World Wrestling Federation has ever known.
The long-term future of sports entertainment could change forever.
A succession of actual wars have shaken the entire world and have threatened to bring on the gigantic conflict, which is today, unhappily, a fact.
No force of nature and no act of God could stop this invasion from happening.
I have said not once but many times that I have seen war and that I hate war.
This is our last chance.
There's no going back. There is no tomorrow. They want to finish us off.
Feel this moment for the rest of your life.
This war is only half over, and it could damn well be lost.
We're laying it all on the line.
Nothing can stop the WCW and ECW.
Austin is going to lead us into invasion.
Lift up your heart. All will come right.
We will kick WCW and ECW's.
No WWF superstar is going to deny us from our destiny.
Dad, the sports entertainment.
I have seen war and I hate war.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another episode of Nation Invasion. I'm your host, James Gruenberg, and as always, I have a guest, and his name is Steve Riddle. Steve, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Glad to be back. We're now kind of it's been, 3 months now since really the invasion started, and feels like things are starting to kind of, I don't want to say level off now, but seems like we are kind of almost in a holding pattern almost with with what's going on with this angle.
Yeah, and it does seem that mostly the focus is on already WWF established superstars than the actual guys who came over from WCW or ECW, except for one in particular, and that's Rob Van Dam. I feel like tonight, as we talk about these episodes, we'll notice that SmackDown had the better wrestling, but the Raw had a better, storyline angle,
Yeah, it had like the through line throughout the whole episode that really kind of carried it against the in-ring action.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see a couple of debuts and some betrayals,
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive into this is Raw, September 3rd, 2001. We are live in Toronto, Canada. Tonight, we have a recap of Stone Cold's actions on SmackDown, where he took Kurt Angle's gold medals from him on the last Monday Night Raw, and now he went to Detroit SmackDown and he threw them into the Detroit River. So Angle is pissed, Steve.
Yeah, there's one thing we know about Kurt is you don't mess with his gold medals.
Yep. So we'll see what happens here tonight. But now we go right into a match. It is Undertaker versus Test. Both men tie up. Hip toss by Taker. Elbow to Taker. STF to Test. Clothesline by Test. Test goes to work on Taker. Sidewalk slam by Test. Leaping elbow by Test. Russian leg sweep to Taker. A flying clothesline to Test. Steven Richards then comes out. We haven't seen him since late May. He comes out and he gives the Undertaker a Stevie kick, and then so that draws the disqualification. And Test gives Taker a big boot. For this matchup, I went a star and a half. It was all right, but I wanted to see what would have happened if Stevie didn't interfere, because you have two big enforcers. Test is being the big enforcer for the Alliance, and the Undertaker is almost a really big enforcer for the WWF. So I'm going to star and a half because of the disqualification finish.
Yeah, I went 2 stars. I actually didn't mind it. We kind of weird. We've been seeing Taker in a lot more singles matches. I'm guessing Kane was dealing with an injury because it's weird we haven't seen him in a while. But yeah, they've really putting Test over as a big, as like you said, the enforcer of the alliance. I know Paul was definitely hyping him up, incredibly, really getting him over as a big, blue chip guy. And I thought for two big guys, they had some pretty good chemistry. Taker kind of pulling out a little submission moves, like you said, the STF. And yeah, the ending does kind of hurt it a bit because at the time you're not really sure why. One, you're surprised to see Richards because he, like you said, we haven't seen him since May. But unless you're unless you're following along, paying attention, you'll understand why he did what he did. But yeah, he comes out, draws it, Taker gets the win via DQ when Richards gets involved, but then Test gets the last word when he gets the big boots. So they kept Test kind of strong, even though he lost. And it's clear that they're now moving at least Taker now into this issue with Richards.
Yep. Christian is then talking to a security guard backstage because he's hyping himself up to win the WCW title from The Rock tonight. And then two fans come up to him. They're like, "Oh, it's Edge's brother, Christian," and he goes, "Security guard, move those two people away from me into the balcony because I don't want ugly people near me when I beat The Rock for the WCW title. No ugly people."
Yeah, key point there: the fact that that the fans referred to him as Edge's brother. So keep that in the back of our heads.
Yep. Michael Cole then gets a word with Steven Richards. Steven says Taker is responsible for right to censor breaking up, and he challenges Taker to a match on SmackDown. Good luck with that, Stevie.
Well, this is what I mentioned earlier. Like if you've been following along, if you remember watching, there was Taker that Richards was last seen again. Taker pretty much squashed him in the match, and that, like you said, that was pretty much the end of the right to censor. So I know we haven't seen. We saw Bull and Goodfather a few times in the early days of the invasion. They've now seemed to have disappeared off the face of the earth. Not sure where Val is because we haven't seen him since then. And of course, Ivory now is pretty much kind of as she's obviously ditched all that. She's now in the alliance. So obviously the right to censor after being one of the most predominant factions of earlier in the year, 3 of them we haven't seen on TV in a while now. One now is back, and then like I said, Ivory's pretty much been the most featured player of the original of the group.
Yeah. So now we have a WrestleMania 18 press conference where WrestleMania 18 will be at the Sky Dome in 2002. So, this is very big hype. It's like a little bit of a surprise. Like, oh, we have a surprise for the fans, and it's that WrestleMania 18 is going to be at the Sky Dome. And it's weird to see Shane and Steph there to do this like promotion for WrestleMania 18 because they're part of the alliance. They're like the bad guys,
Yeah, it was a bit weird, but I thought it was still good to get hype. I mean, it's been, it'll be 12 years since we had our last WrestleMania at the Sky Dome, of course, WrestleMania 6, which had the iconic Hogan Warrior match. And little did anyone know when they attended this press conference here what big match they ended up getting in March of 2002 there at the Sky Dome for WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, who we wanted in 2001, well, we get next year.
Yeah.
Tajiri and Regal are in Regal's office. Tajiri introduces his tag partner, The Big Show. And then Stone Cold gets surprised by the Alliance. Steph says the Alliance appreciates Stone Cold. And they want to make it up to him because Kurt Angle ruined Austin Appreciation Night. Stone Cold says he threw Kurt's medals in the river for the Alliance. Steph says the Alliance has another surprise for Stone Cold, and that Kurt Angle is probably swimming in the Detroit River for his medals.
Yeah, so continuing that. And I like the little thing there with Regal and Tajiri because, Regal's still kind of weary of Tori since she is still technically in the Alliance. He doesn't want Tajiri to kind of, be associated with her. And then I never realized Big Show spoke New Japanese, because he and Tajiri have a nice little conversation there that confounds Regal, as we find out that they're going to be tag partners later tonight.
Mm-hmm. Now we have the Dudley Boys versus Tajiri and the Big Show, and this is a number one contenders match for the Undertaker's WWF titles. And going back to what you said about Kane, Kane has had an infected elbow ever since SummerSlam 01. So he's been in like the in and out of the hospital a couple of times with like doctors trying to get like this infection off of his elbow. So like I said, it's Dudley Boys versus Tajiri and Big Show. Devon tosses Tajiri out. Double clothesline by Show. Kicks to Devon and Bubba. Hang time by Bubba. Elbow drops to Tajiri. A flapjack by the Dudley Boys. Devon misses a dive. Tag the Big Show. Devon low blows Big Show after trying to get a choke slam into Bubba. Tajiri then spits the mist into Big Show by accident, who then knocks down Tori because Tori Wilson came down to the ring. She gets knocked down by the Big Show. And then a 3D to Tajiri for the win. Bubba then puts Tajiri through a table. For this matchup, I went 2 stars. You know, it's pure dominance by, you know, the Big Show and the Dudley Boys. Like Tajiri gets a few shots in, but then, you know, the Dudley Boys, they kind of cheat, but they don't, because like, you know, the low blow with the choke slam, and then Tajiri accidentally spits the mist into Big Show's eyes, and then he knocks down Tori. So I went 2 stars, Steve.
Yeah, I went star 3/4. It was good. Tajiri and Show had some good chemistry as like a, you know, big man, little man team. Tajiri obviously is a very good face in peril as the Dudleys, you know, beat on him for a bit, and the show gets a hot tag. We see the continuation of this thing with Tori as she comes down, and then, you know, pretty chaotic finish there again with Tajiri, you know, spraying the mist and Show knocking Tori off the apron. I mean, she took a nasty spill there to the floor. And then I liked the finish there where Tajiri goes for the handspring elbow, Devon avoids it, and then Tajiri walks right into the 3D. I thought that was a cool little finish there. And then, like you said, Tajiri ends up beating the powerbomb through the table because Show was busy getting Tori to the back. So good little win here for the Dudleys, kind of reestablishing. They've been out of the title picture for a while now, so it's kind of good to get them back in there. Maybe kind of put the tag titles back on an actual tag team. Let them kind of, you know, run with it for a little bit. Not that, you know, not saying Taker and Kane aren't a legitimate tag team, because they have been for the majority of this year, but I think the Dudleys have definitely kind of earned the opportunity to once again potentially have a run again as champions.
Yes, they have. They've been out of it ever since they lost to the APA back in July. It was July 9th, because that's when the ECW invasion happened. Christian's polishing the trophy. By the way, also when Tajiri goes through the table, he looks like a folded accordion.
Yeah, he took a good bump through that table, so kudos to him.
Yep. Christian's polishing the King of the Ring trophy when Booker T and Shane come in. Shane and Booker T offer Christian help to beat The Rock. Christian accepts. And then Canyon is at WWF New York, says he has renamed it Alliance New York, and Canyon sends his best to Stone Cold. What do you think of Christian offering Booker T and Shane's help?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, obviously Booker and Shane want to get the WCW title back on the Alliance side, and I guess they figure that they can, you know, it's the old, you know, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. They'll help Christian win the title, and then, you know, only if Christian gives Booker the first shot, which Christian, you know, agrees to. So clearly that means that, you know, we're going to see some shenanigans in that match, and then Canyon at WWF New York, they're renaming it Alliance New York, and you know, kind of blubbering to himself there when he's putting over Austin and everything. So just some decent stuff there. And I like how because this is Monday the 3rd, which was Labor Day, and Canyon, you know, says he's glad he's not having to work on that day because it is a holiday.
Yeah. So no word for Kid. And Austin and Deborah are backstage, and Steph comes in and says Austin's surprise is almost here. Steph says Kurt Angle won't show up because Austin will kick Kurt's ass again. And then now we have Sean Stasiak versus Spike Dudley. Sean Stasiak comes out with Stacy Keibler, and for once, WWF writers got something right, because at the end of Sean Stasiak's WCW run, he was coming out with Stacy Keibler, so they finally got something right. Why couldn't they give us Torrie Wilson and Billy Kidman at the time too? So we have Sean throws Spike, Sean slams Spike down, a press slam to Spike, Stacy trips Spike, then Sean Stasiak trips over his own feet, and a Dudley Dog for the win. For this matchup, I gave it a star. It's a squash with a comedic dumb ending, and Spike Dudley just wins. So I want a star on this match.
Yeah, I went half a star. Again, like you said, just a squash. Real quick, back to Austin there. I mean, you could definitely tell, even though he did get the better, he get put one over on Kurt by throwing his medals off the bridge. He's definitely feeling a lot more paranoid because the beginning there, when the Alliance surprised him, he got really startled because he thought he was going to get attacked, and then even here he's still kind of on a bit on edge, even though he's got this surprise coming for him. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, the continued growing paranoia that Austin's dealing with. And then in the match itself, I mean, I don't know what the deal is, what they're trying to accomplish here with Stasiak, because he looked really good in the match. I mean, he gives Spike some good good power offense. He has the good look, and he has the potential. I mean, and JR even called out the fact that his dad was a former WWF champion, Stan Stasiak. So it's like he has the potential, but for some reason they want to portray him as this this dumb klutz. And like you said, he doesn't even trip over his own feet. He's just like, I don't even know what the fuck that flop was he took. It was just, and then of course, but Paul, actually made it funny because he's like, oh, Molly tripped Stasiak up, even though it was like nowhere close. And then Spike hits the Dudley Dog for the win. So it's, I don't know, maybe it's punishment for Stasiak, because if you remember the rumored story about how he got, why he was released the first time, because he was reportedly recording guys backstage without their knowledge, and this was kind of punishment for him. But I don't know, it's just like he's a guy that I think had some potential, and they could have really done something with. But for whatever reason, they just never, and again, we've seen this with a lot of the Alliance guys, they just never want to, push them to the potential that they have.
Yeah, and I always said that Test should have had what Test has should have been Mike Awesome's spot. Mike Awesome could have been the enforcer for the Alliance, teaming with the Dudleys and being that big guy to go up against guys like Kane and the Undertaker. I would have loved to have seen Undertaker versus Mike Awesome. I think that would have been a great matchup. The Big Boo versus Mike Awesome's big dives. And Steve, according to Hugh Morris, he went and Lance Storm went on Chris Jericho's podcast one time, and he said that Sean Stasiak called in a Houston radio show, or posted on a radio show blog in Houston WrestleMania 17 week, and said that WCW guys were going to interfere in the Shane versus Vince match. And he got into hot water over that too, because those plans were scraps.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. That dude just always seemed, if you hear some stories that guys have said about it, he always seemed kind of a bit off, I think, to some people.
Yeah.
Between the recording guys, I mean, he seemed like a very weird dude.
Mm-hmm. So then Molly actually comes into the ring, and she handspring elbows Stacy, and then Stacy gets carried out by Shawn. Edge comes to wish Christian good luck, and Christian tells Edge he wants to do this on his own. And then Perry Saturn, of all people to ask for help, just because he's a superhero apparently, asks Hurricane to help find Moppy. Hurricane says all signs point to Matt Hardy, and that Matt Hardy is evil and stole Moppy.
So Stacy, gets in Spike's face and she pays for it with, like you said, Molly gives her the handspring elbow. Kind of interesting little back and forth there with Edge and Christian, particularly with Christian saying he needs to do this, he wants to do this on his own, especially knowing that we know that Booker and Shane are going to be at ringside. So kind of, a little sneaky pit there from Christian. And then, Saturn, talking to Hurricane. Saturn's like, they're asking for $100,000. I don't have $100,000. It's like, well, either you really are bad at saving your money or you're not getting paid well, which doesn't really speak well to the company. If you're not getting paid well, that you don't have $100,000. And then Hurricane going over the ransom note there. He's like, M, like mystery, Moppy, and Matt Hardy. So I tell you, Hurricane has definitely been, even early on, he's been killing it. Like he has, thrown himself right into this role and has really embraced it. So I think you got to give, Shane Helms a lot of credit for that. That this could have been easily could have been like a stupid gimmick that just completely fell flat on its face, but he has been working his ass off to make it work, and that's why it ended up having the longevity that it did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said the same thing about Goldust, even though it's like two different personas, for a gimmick that was supposed to fail, the man behind the mask and paint really made the character shine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, if I keep forgetting that this early edition of Hurricane, he didn't have a mask; he had the face paint on, which always kind of threw me off. But I think it's an interesting look.
Yeah, because he said the mask was gonna just like rip right off and break, so he's like, "Oh, I need to do face paint," and Vince approved it. Mm-hmm. So now we have The Rock versus Christian for the WCW title. Booker T and Shane come out. Booker does ring announcing. Shane is going to be the guest timekeeper. Shane lays shots on The Rock, clothesline to Christian, spinning heel kick to Rock. Booker bounces The Rock off the table, backbreaker to The Rock, Samoan drop to Christian. Booker tosses the title to Christian. He misses DDT by The Rock. Sharpshooter to Christian. Shane pulls the ref out. Unprettier for a 2 count, and then a rock bottom for the win. So Christian, The Rock beats Christian with the rock bottom for the win. For this matchup, Steve, I went 2 1/4. Christian is not the right. I know it's supposed to set up something else, but to me, Christian looked way awkward in this spot to be fighting The Rock. Like for all the WWF guys, he put Christian in, and it's so awkward. And basically, it's Shane and Booker T interfering the whole time, so they're still messing with The Rock, obviously. But this was like a no-win situation for Christian. He does put on somewhat of a performance, but it's mostly Shane and Booker doing all the heavy lifting until the end, and then it's basically just a rock bottom. So 2 1/4 for me.
I went 2 stars. I thought Christian did okay. I mean, it was like you said, a huge spot for him in his hometown, getting the WCW title shot. Obviously, as we know, it would lead to bigger things later in the show. But I thought he was fine. I mean, I think you could definitely tell he did feel a bit overwhelmed against Rock, but I thought Rock did, a good job in making him feel like at least somewhat of a credible threat. Like you said, a lot of focus on Booker and Shane as they constantly get involved throughout the match, trying to help Christian. Christian does end up getting gets one quick, too close to a 3 count there off the Unprettier, but then like I said, Rock then hits the rock bottom and to retain the title. So you knew that the Rock wasn't going to lose the belts here. It was, like I said, just to kind of further the story with Christian. and also to further this thing with Rock, Booker, and Shane, because something was going to come down between those three.
Mm-hmm. So then Booker and Rock brawl. Shane hits Rock. APA chase Shane and Booker away. Booker away. And so then now we have Stephanie McMahon. She comes to the ring after saying that Stone Cold Surprise is here. Steph wonders why Canadians celebrate Thanksgiving. Steph calls Canada the laziest country. Out comes Stone Cold. Steph presents Austin with a brand new truck. Deborah shows the truck's features, and then Stone Cold goes to the back. Austin sees the truck. Austin stands on the back of it like in the Titanic. He now say he's the king of the world. All of a sudden, Kurt Angle comes out from the back of the production truck, hits Austin in the back of the head with a pipe, and takes off with Austin in the back. And he carries in the back with Austin shackles and a cement block, Steve.
Yeah, this was a really good segment. Stephanie, just completely running down Canada and very pro America, which obviously at the time it's at that moment it's basically just her peeling out on Canada. Little did we know what would be coming a week later. If you're living in the U.S. Deborah is the absolute worst model there in the world. She would definitely not be a good Price is Right model. So she was just so wooden and so awkward trying to show off the features of this truck. It was just really awkward. And then Austin and Stephanie go outside, like you said. Austin does the whole King of the World, and Kurt coming out of nowhere there with out of that production truck, and just he caught Austin good with that pipe. I'm surprised Austin didn't get legitimately concussed from that. And then like you said, he puts in the shackles, the chain, and the cement block, and then drives off. So you can only wonder what Kurt has in store here for old Stone Cold.
Oh, we're going for a ride, Austin. He made it very clear they were going for a ride. Now we have Matt Hardy and Lita versus Ivory and the Hurricane, and Paul Heyman had the line like when he's like, "Where's Kurt Angle taking Stone Cold?"
Well, he becomes completely more over the top with this as we go through the episode.
Oh yeah, wait at the end too on how bad Deborah is. If you thought this was bad, wait till the end.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Matt Hardy and Lita versus Ivory and the Hurricane. Punches the Hurricane. Matt misses a moonsault. Head scissors to Ivory. Tags him at Hurricane. Lita spears Ivory. Then Perry Saturn distracts Matt, who pushes Perry off the ring apron. And then the Eye of the Hurricane to Matt for the win. I gave this matchup a 1.5. It was good. Perry Saturn coming out at the end, and then Hurricane gets the Eye of the Hurricane. It was all right, but it was a 1.5 to me.
Yeah, I went a star. It was fine. Obviously, we had seen, of course, the week before Hurricane defeat Matt to win the European title, so that this continues this. I still find it funny watching these and hearing for Hurricane scene going the stand back. There's a hurricane coming through, and then goes right into the vertebraker theme, as opposed to the superhero theme. So that still kind of jars me a bit. But some basic stuff here with Matt and Hurricane, and then Lita and Ivory, and then like we said, Saturn comes out. And ends up distracting Matt leading to Hurricane and Ivory getting the win. But then Saturn ends up taking out Hurricane anyway after the match anyway. Like he obviously didn't. He found out that Hurricane was lying to him. So the Saturn saga with him and looking for Moppy, that continues as well.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, this isn't Moppy. You didn't buy me Moppy." So he throws him out of the ring. And I guess they were trying to find the Hurricane sidekick, and I kind of like who they go with now instead of having Ivory. I kind of like who they chose to be Hurricane's sidekick instead of Ivory. Like Ivory's a good female wrestler, but I just don't see her as sidekick material, you know?
Yeah, she and Hurricane just don't are kind of an odd pair. Like you said, the one that he gets late coming down the road, obviously would work as a better fit.
Oh yeah, Edge tries to console Christian after he lost the WCW title match to The Rock, and you see Christian is just like I'm not gonna talk. He's just quiet. He's just looking around, like he's breathing, but Christian is so upset that he lost, and Lance Storm comes in. He calls Christian a loser, and Edge promises to beat Lance Storm here tonight. The Alliance are on the phone with the police, and then Kurt appears with Austin. Austin is shackled and blindfolded. Angle shows Austin the top of a bridge. Kurt says he is going to throw Austin over the bridge. Austin is begging Kurt. Kurt says, it's not high enough, Austin. So he takes off to an even bigger bridge, and then Steph just basically tells the Alliance to do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the backstage there. Like you said, Christian, he's very despondent. Edge tries to cheer him up, but then Storm comes in. Kind of funny, Storm running down Toronto, because obviously him being from the other side of Canada, he thinks that side's out. He thinks that side's better. And then Edge kind of gets in his face about it. Then they kind of go back and forth, but both leave Christian just leaving him there in his despondent state. So again, kind of an interesting thing to keep an eye on. And then like you said, the Alliance frantic about trying to help Austin. Then we see Angle taking Austin to this bridge, threatening to throw him off, but then it's like no, I don't want to do this. This bridge isn't high enough. So you can only imagine again where Angle's going to go if that bridge there wasn't good enough to throw Austin off of.
Mm-hmm. And now we have an Intercontinental title match. It is Lance Storm versus Edge. Backdrop to Storm, head scissors by Edge. Spinning heel kick to Edge. Clothesline off the top rope by Lance Storm. Crossbody by both men. Spinning heel kick by Edge. And then a half Boston Crab to Edge. Edge then rolls up Storm for the win. For this match, I went 2 stars. It's always good to see Lance Storm versus Edge. I think they bring out the best in each other. Lance Storm is still trying to find his foot in the WWF and how they work, but Edge has been very, very good with Storm.
Yeah, I went 1.75 stars. It was pretty much. We pretty much got a condensed version of their SummerSlam match. With this match, so again, good back and forth between the two. Storm takes gets some good control. He you almost thought he was going to get the win when he hit the half crab on, but Edge manages to get to the rope, and kind of a sneak win there by Edge with the roll up, and not getting the win with either the execution or the spear. So keeping Storm a little bit strong there. That he got caught there by Edge, who does get the good title defense in his hometown.
Mm-hmm. Lance beats up Edge after losing, and then Christian comes in with a chair, and then in the turn of the century, right here, the jealous brother Christian finally hits Edge with the chair. This has been building up for months, ever since really, the King of the Ring, and then Edge wins the Intercontinental title. Christian does want to set out for singles gold, but he loses. And I think that, with Edge's popularity, Christian finally snapped. He hits Edge with the chair right in the face, too. It was a shot. Then Christian slams the trophy into Edge's ribs and a concerto to Edge as well. So this was brutal by Christian. Enough was enough to Christian. He finally had enough of Edge's popularity, and he just let it all out on Edge tonight, Steve.
Yeah, so they did a good little tease there with having Storm attack Edge after the match and bring a chair into the ring, and then Christian runs down, so you think he's going to make the save, and then like you said, the big turn there when he did catch Edge good right in the face with that first chair shot. And like you said, this has definitely been building for a while. You knew it was coming. They obviously saw something in Edge that they want to give him a singles push, and they obviously saw something enough. Still saw something in Christian to give him a push too. But they needed to kind of get them apart from each other because Christian's just a better heel anyway than a face. So have him, be the one to turn on Edge, and then gives him the one-man concerto, which looked really good as well. So, and interesting they do it in Toronto, in the guy's hometown. So Christian turns on Edge in Toronto, so adds a little bit more heat to it, and ends the run of arguably one of the best tag teams of the last 2 years.
Yeah, they're not 8-time tag team champions. They hit the magic number, which is 7. And like you said, Christian is better off a heel while Edge is getting the babyface pop. And I really like this. And I know we're gonna see Matt and Jeff try and do the same thing where, Matt's kind of like mad at Jeff Hardy. But to me, this was a very good rivalry for what it was. We're going to get 2 great matches out of it. And I love the way that Christian speaks as he'll speak on SmackDown, him just screaming angrily that it's all Edge's fault. So I really enjoyed this feud of Edge and the jealous brother of Christian.
Yeah, I can delve more into that when we do talk about that promo.
Mm-hmm. Rob, and so now we have our Raw main event. It's Rob Van Dam and Rhino versus Jeff Hardy and Chris Jericho. Jeff Hardy still coming off his injuries from 2 weeks ago on SmackDown, where Rob Van Dam and Jeff Hardy had a hardcore title match, and Jeff Hardy went through the table with a swanton bomb. So he's been out for a little while, and the feud between Rhino and Jericho has continued as well. So we have Rob Van Dam and Rhino versus Jeff Hardy and Chris Jericho. RVD and Jericho start. Whisper in the wind and a swanton bomb to RVD. Rhino slams Jeff on the ropes. Shoulder driven into Jeff. Jeff counters the gore. Jericho tosses Rhino to the outside. Jeff goes over and lands onto Rhino. Standing moonsault to Jericho by RVD. Jericho counters and rolls up Rob Van Dam for the win. For this matchup, Steve, I went 2 stars because the match, the wrestling was great, but it's way too short. And it goes into like this whole like what's going to happen next. I think they could have done away with the Deborah speaking on the microphone, given this more time, and then go for the end segment with Angle and Austin. But so I went 2 stars. It's fine, but it was too short.
Yeah, I went 1 star and 3/4. This barely got 4 minutes, which for these 4 guys is an absolute crime. You give these guys 10, 12 minutes, and they could put on they can reach like hidden gem territory with the tag match they could have had. I did find it funny with Earl being the referee, him getting the "you screwed Brett" chants from the crowd because they were in Canada, and obviously the fans have still not forgiven him for what happened there. So I thought that was funny. They really hyped up. They were really talking about how they said like Jeff was wrestling against doctor's orders. They didn't want him, they thought he was coming back too soon. And I thought RVD and Rhino did a good job kind of targeting Jeff, really targeting the ribs, him still selling the ribs. We kind of start the little transition here because, like you said, we've had RVD and Jeff and Jericho Rhino feuds coming out, that have been continuing a little bit past SummerSlam, but now it seems like we're kind of starting that transition to Jericho and RVD, because Jericho does end up pinning RVD, again with a kind of surprise roll up. So another kind of out of nowhere finish back to back. Again, like you said, really good, really for what we got, a really good match between these 4 guys. They could, we know what they're capable of, but like you said, this just needed more time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so not the best main event, but again, Raw for tonight is more about pushing forward the rivalry of Stone Cold and Kurt Angle. As Kurt Angle arrives with Austin to a bigger bridge, Austin says he is sorry and will go get Kurt's medals. Then we go back to the arena, and Deborah pleads and begs Kurt not to throw Austin over the bridge. And two thoughts came to mind while this segment is going on. Number one, they lost the feed to the bridge between Kurt and Austin going into between the show feed and this feed as well, so they needed more time. So you have Paul Heyman come in to try and tell them, oh, have respect for Deborah. Or they realized that Deborah was so bad at this that they cut to a commercial and they made her redo it because she again says, please, Kurt, please don't do this. Stone Cold's very sorry. He'll make it up to you. What did you think of this Deborah pleading here? Because this is awful.
Yeah, it's awful. First though, we do see Angle bringing Austin to that other bridge. Tell him he says it's a 200-foot drop. I mean, from the camera perspective, it looks like it's a big drop. I don't know if it's 200 feet because it seems like that would be extremely high up. And he says that he wants Austin to beg and cry, and think about what's gonna happen to him. So I thought that was good. And then, but yeah, like you said, yeah, Deborah's just absolutely terrible. She is just like she just sounds so fake, and yeah, I was watching it again today, and I was like, it's so weird because it's like she's doing this thing, then all of a sudden Paul gets on the apron. And then they cut to this wide shot of where it's like straight on the Titantron, and like you said, I don't know if it was supposed to go right back then to the bridge, and they lost the feed, so they had to to kind of improvise a bit because Paul goes really off on the crowd, just yelling at them to shut up and everything and then it's like they had, like you said, they couldn't go right to a commercial break because they had to fill some time. So it's like they did that. Then they ended up going to the break. And then, like you said, when they come back to her, she says pretty much the exact same thing that she did the first time. And yeah, it was just again, I don't know if it's just like you said, a technical snafu or just something happened where they just they couldn't cut to a commercial in time. But it was just really, really awkward.
And like, Kurt Angle can't even hear Deborah, so he doesn't care about it,
Right.
Gosh. So then Angle wants Austin to beg. Austin says he is sorry. Please don't do this. Angle starts to mock Austin by saying, What? You gonna cry? Cry, Austin, cry. And then he wants Austin to cry. Austin starts to cry. Kurt calls Stone Cold pathetic. Kurt then says, there is something that I want. I want a return match for the WWF title. He wants his shot at Unforgiven in Pittsburgh. Austin gives in to Kurt. And then Kurt says that, Austin, I might have gotten my title shot, but you're still going into the water. And Austin pushes Stone Cold Kurt pushes Stone Cold into a kiddie pool. And this got cut off because they weren't playing the You Are the Wind Beneath My Ring or Did You Never Know You Were My Hero. But before Kurt drives off, he actually sings, Did you ever know that you're my hero? And then Stone Cold, he takes off with Stone Cold's truck as Stone Cold is laying in the water.
Yeah, no, this was fun. Like you said, Kurt making Austin beg and cry like Austin wanted him to do the week before. Then, like you said, he was going to get something out of it, and that's the title shot at Unforgiven in his hometown. Then he said, that was a great moment. It's like he makes it seem like Austin's going to get thrown over the bridge, but instead he just pushes him into a kiddie pool, which is just which is pure Kurt. I mean, we saw it a few weeks ago with him in the milk truck, and now we see it here where he puts Austin into the kiddie pool, and Austin just flailing around like a fish there on the ground, still chained up, while Angle drives away. Was a good little shot there, and it was a good way to close out the show.
Yeah, so while they are trying to make Kurt Angle a tough bad guy and like almost a leader like for the WWF, they still brought a little comedy back into play for, funny Kurt Angle. So it was a good ending there. So we now know at Unforgiven, it will be Stone Cold versus Kurt Angle for the WWF title. Overall, what did you think of the Raw show, Steve?
I thought the show was okay. It had some. I mean, like I said, it was pretty much all about the Austin Angle through line. You had the ongoing through line with Christian, eventually with leading to him turning on Edge. The matches were okay, but nothing too special there. We now, like I said, we now know the main event for Unforgiven with Angle Austin. You figure there's probably still going to be something with Rock and Booker. And it was just a matter of now how the rest of the card was going to get shaped up here.
Yeah, but like I said, that main event could have gotten more time because he didn't need the Deborah segment because that was terrible.
Yeah.
So let's dive into SmackDown. It is SmackDown September 4th. Usually it would be like September 6th, but they actually had this live on Tuesday night. I don't know if it was live to the fans on Tuesday night, but it was live here on Tuesday night, September 4th. We're back in Toronto. We have a recap of Raw where Angle pushes Stone Cold in the kiddie pool and gets his title shot. And then we go right into a match. It's the Hardy Boys versus Raven and Justin Credible. Terry shoves Lita. Doubles this. Oh, yeah, Raven and Terry is now with Raven as well. Terry shoves Lita. Double scissors and clothesline by Matt. Whisper in the wind to Raven. Face plant to Jeff. Terry slabs Jeff. Neckbreaker to Justin. Super kick to Matt for a 2 count. Twist of Fate and Swanton Bomb to Justin for the win. For this matchup, I went 2 stars. It was a great opener, high flying. A little odd couple between Raven and Justin Credible. I thought they would have called back to the Impact players and had Raven and Lance Storm team up versus the Hardy Boys.
Yeah, I went a star and a half. You actually stole my thought there. I was thinking to myself, if they're gonna put Justin Credible in just a tag team, why not just repair him up with Storm and reform the Impact players? That way you get another tag team in the division to kind of help shore this up. And kind of interesting seeing Terry and Raven together. That's an odd pair. Obviously, we know what that will lead to eventually. Hardy's kind of, back together after being apart for a little bit since Jeff's been dealing with RVD. So kind of good seeing them back together, kind of again, shoring it back up the tag division. And again, just some basic back and forth between the two teams. And then the Hardys do end up getting the win fairly easily. So again, basic tag opener here. But yeah, just again, it's like you got the Impact players right there. Why not just, put them back together and just use them?
Because Vince doesn't know what was going on in ECW in the year 2000. Even though he's financially backing, he never really listened to anybody. Yeah, just an odd couple there. Stone Cold Steve Austin walks into his locker room to address the alliance. They all have their heads down and they're a little bit upset because they don't want to face the wrath of Stone Cold because they think that Stone Cold's just going to be very, 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 very angry and no one wants to look him in the face. Austin tells them to pick their heads up. Stone Cold says he begged and cried for the alliance. And then Chavo Guerrero walks in late and Stone Cold beats him up. He lays down a whipping. You will not be late to alliance meetings and you will not be late in front of Stone Cold. So poor Chavo Guerrero saying there was traffic. He gets beat up and feels the wrath of Stone Cold. What did you think of this segment?
Obviously, Austin very, obviously pissed off at what happened, and the alliance clearly walking out on eggshells, not wanting to, do something to offend them. He of course tries to play it off, saying he did what he did for them. At one point he says if it was just for me, I would have told Angle just to throw me over the bridge, which, considering that he has been thrown over a bridge before by The Rock in '99,
he can survive.
Well, I mean, we know that bridge that rock threw him off was definitely not 200 feet. So I don't know about So again, it all depends if the bridge that Angle threatened to throw him over was really 200 feet. And yeah, poor Chavo. His bad luck that he comes in and gets not only chastised but then gets assaulted by Austin because he was late. So obviously again everyone kind of walking on eggshells, and the paranoia continues to grow here with Austin.
Yep. Christian comes to the ring. Christian says he moved to Florida and became a U.S. citizen. Christian says Edge is jealous of him, and says that, Christian says that everything is Edge's fault. Christian says he's special. Christian wonders where Edge was during his WCW title match, when clearly Christian said for Edge to hang back because he wants to do it alone. Says Edge made him do this. Christian says Edge and Toronto are selfish. Christian then says he will take the Intercontinental title away from Edge. What did you think of this promo?
This I thought was actually a really good promo. Christian has never been a guy that's been considered a good shtick, promo guy, but I felt he really dialed up the the frustration here. I like it, like you said, that he hasn't felt this good, like you said, since he moved to Florida and became a U.S. citizen. So really kind of putting down his Toronto roots. He kind of he does have some good valid points, because it's like it's always been Edge and Christian or E and C. I mean, there was a few times early on in the team that they did say Christian and Edge, but eventually kind of turned to Edge and Christian. And he does the usual trope saying that Edge has always been the jealous one of him, when it's everyone knows clearly it's the opposite. And like you said, he kind of calls Edge out for not helping him on Monday, which, like you said, Christian told him not to. So again, kind of doing the old revisionist history there, and then pretty much calling it out that he wants the Intercontinental title. And he definitely he kind of good little end there where he says he knows Edge after last night. He knows Edge well, but after last night, Edge doesn't know him. So. So good little promo there from Christian, and now it seems like we have an inter-brand feud here for the IC title.
Yeah, because Christian is not a part of the alliance. He's still in the WWF, but he's a bad guy in the WWF. Steven Richards is in the ring. Oh wait, no, sorry, my bad. We have to go back because there's another Stone Cold segment. Sorry about that, folks. Stone Cold is mad. Chavo showed up late. Sean Stasiak comes in with coffee. And then Austin burns his mouth, throws hot coffee on Sean, and lays him out. So he's like, Deborah, call the paramedic. I think my mouth is burning. And Deborah's like, oh, is he going to be all right? I don't care about him. My mouth is burning. Deborah, call the paramedic for that.
Poor Stasiak. I mean, and it's funny, he brought the coffee and he even told Austin that it was hot, and Austin took a sip anyway, and then just like you said, flipped out threw the coffee on him, and then laid him out. And then that was the funny part. He's like, get the paramedics, and then Deborah's like, is Stasiak gonna be okay? He's like, I don't give a damn about him. My mouth's burned. So Austin has been really on fire here. Really, since he joined the Alliance back in Invasion, and I know that history looks back not too fondly on this heel run here for 2001, really from when he turned heel at WrestleMania. But having watched it back, he has done a really great job trying to get this heel character over, and really kind of make himself a really good heel, particularly like I said, this whole like paranoid, just. We'll do whatever I can to hold on to my title and screw everybody who tries to get in my way.
And I thought he did a good job, like as a heel, like from the beginning. Well, when he was like beating up JR, he was beating up Lita, and then fast forward to after Invasion, he's beating up Scotty 2 Hotty because he thinks he's Kurt Angle. And, he goes back to beating up Lita and the Hardy Boys. That one match with Matt Hardy was brutal because, he's taking all of his frustrations out on everybody because he thinks that they're Kurt Angle. So then Steven Richards comes to the ring, and he comes out, and there's like alliance, like the WCW and ECW banners are like on the screen as well, and it's like, oh well, is Steven Richards part of the alliance now, or did they just like assume without knowing if he was in the alliance or not? But we'll find out here tonight. And I thought the same thing, like when Christian, or like with Steven Richards, I thought they were going to do the same thing with Christian, like just assume, oh, because you're a heel in the WWF, that means you're now part of the alliance,
Mm-hmm.
So Steven Richards in the ring. Steven says it's Taker's fault. RTC disbanded and turned on him. He calls out the Undertaker. Steven runs away. And then all of a sudden, Brian Adams kicks Taker's bike. And then Brian Clark and Adams, they start beating down on Undertaker. So KRONIK makes their WWF debuts and have aligned themselves with Steven Richards. They're beating down Undertaker. They throw Taker into the steps, a clothesline by Clark, and a double team move by KRONIK to Taker. So KRONIK has now invaded the WWF, 2 months after, almost 3 months after Invasion.
Yeah, I thought this was actually a really good little beatdown here. I thought that that KRONIK actually looked really good in beating Taker down, and they hit their finisher there, the high tide at the end. And honestly, I mean, if you think about it, in terms of just like name star power, you could argue that really besides right now, in terms of like the WCW guy, the ECW guys, besides Booker and RVD, you could argue KRONIK might be the highest, biggest star power names they have in the company, because I mean they were a dominant force in WCW throughout 2000 and into 2001. So it was a good little kind of get for them. Even though obviously Adams is a little bit older. And Clark's, he still looks really good. I think he's maybe a little older too, but they could still do decent stuff. I mean, like I said, I thought this beatdown of Taker was pretty good. And they hit, like I said, their high tide at the end there. So I think this initial debut for KRONIK was really good. Obviously, we'll see what happens to them going forward. But at the time, I thought, I think most people are probably looking at it as a good little addition to the roster there, to have KRONIK involved.
Yeah, I feel like they needed another tag team, and KRONIK, I'm surprised, was available. I don't know why they were saving them. Like maybe they just didn't want to come in at the time of the whole establishing of the alliance or what their deal was. But KRONIK's going to have a rememberable run for all the wrong reasons, Steve. We'll get there.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Yeah, I'll get there, Shane and Booker T go into Regal's office. Shane tells Regal he will name The Rock's opponent at Unforgiven because even though the WCW title is on the waist of a WWF star, it's still under Shane's jurisdiction. Much like the WWF title is in the camp of the Alliance, it's still under Commissioner Regal's jurisdiction. Shane says that at Unforgiven, it will be a special handicap match. It'll be Shane and Booker T versus The Rock. And Shane definitely declares that one of two things. Either Shane or Booker T will bring back the WCW title to the Alliance. And then Regal has to oblige because obviously, Regal has no power over the WCW title. Deborah is checking up on Stone Cold. Deborah then says that Austin needs to go out and talk to the fans out in the ring. So another great segment establishing that at Unforgiven. It's going to be The Rock versus Booker T and Shane again. Regal's like, well, they're very well. You got your match, and I can't do anything about it. And then Deborah is right that Stone Cold does need to prove to the fans that he wasn't scared and, needs to go talk to the fans.
Yeah, it makes sense for for Shane to make to say that since he's the WCW owner, the WCW title is still is still in his jurisdiction, even though The Rock is champions. And you figure that when he made the match, sure, given that he was going to somehow get himself involved in it, since he has been pretty heavily involved throughout this feud here. So obviously he's trying to stack the deck against Rock by putting himself in the match as Booker's partner. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And then Deborah trying to tell Austin he needs to address the public. And again, more running down of Canada that they do. So just again, basic stuff there.
Mm-hmm. Now we have Test versus Billy Gunn. Right hands to Billy, drop kick and clothesline to Test, full Nelson slam to Billy, clothesline by Test, sidewalk slam, shots to Test, Russian leg sweeps to Billy, a neck breaker to Test, tilt-a-whirl slam to Test. Test counters the Famouser into a big boot for the win. For this matchup, Steve, I gave it 2.5. I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was going to be like Gotti 2 Hottie versus Test, where Test was going to just squash them, but they put Billy Gunn into this spot, and Billy put on a performance as well. I thought it was going to be, Test is going to squash whoever his opponent is, but Billy gave a really good performance too, with the tilt-a-whirl slam and like the neck breakers. I like the end where he counters the Famouser into the big boot for the win. So 2.5 for me.
Well, I wasn't that high on it. I just went 1.5 stars. It was fine for what it was. We haven't seen much of Billy to this point, so just kind of throwing him back out there, and the continued pushing of Test as again, Cole and Taz really putting him over as a big star, a big name for the alliance. Billy did get some good offense in here. I like that tilt-a-whirl power slam he gave the Test. I thought looked really good, especially given doing it on a guy that's Test size. But you figured again, Test was going to get the win. They're still pushing him pretty good, so he does beat Billy with the big boot. They're again just establishing, really putting that not just Test over, but they're really putting he's really putting the big boot over as a devastating finish. So again, good stuff here just to give Test a win and keep him rolling.
Deborah again tells Austin he needs to go out to the ring. Austin agrees. Then Stone Cold comes out. Stone Cold says the fans don't matter to him. Austin is mad. The fans cheered for Kurt Angle and everything he did to Austin on Raw. Austin says they disrespected Deborah. Says Canadians are violent and pathetic. Stone Cold says he won't be treated like an animal. He won't forgive Kurt Angle. He says Kurt Angle will lose at Unforgiven. Kurt Angle comes out. Angle does not care if Austin forgives him. Kurt recaps what happened on Raw. Angle says he will beat Austin at Unforgiven. And then Austin walks into the Alliance room. He is mad. He's been humiliated and embarrassed by Kurt Angle for the last time. He says the next person to walk into the room, Austin is going to fight tonight. What did you think of the Stone Cold promo here?
Yeah, so they do like the thing where Austin starts to come out, then he goes to the back again, and then eventually comes out as the crowd's just like giving him shit, and he's basically again just trying to say he did what he did for the Alliance, and again just more running down of Canada and Canadian fans. And then like I said, Kurt comes out, he replays the footage, making Austin even more pissed off, and then I did like though that Angle. Even though he was having fun at Austin's expense, he does kind of turn it up at the end there, where he says Austin will see a side of him that he's never seen before, and we kind of start seeing the beginning of like the killer. I don't want to say killer, but just no nonsense Kurt that we haven't seen too much of. We've seen obviously a lot of comedic Kurt, but I think it's good to see this kind of more aggressive side of Kurt that we don't usually see And then, like you said, Austin barges back into the Alliance. Again, they're all on eggshells, and he does and like you say, he does the thing where he says, "Next guy that runs to the door, that comes through the door, is gonna get an ass whooping." So we now have to wait and see who's gonna be the unlucky SOB that ends up going through the door, or coming through the door, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So hopefully it's someone who will give Stone Cold a fight tonight. Lillian interviews The Rock. Rock says Lillian has feelings for him. Rock asks Lillian if she wants to try the Rock strudel. He goes, Lillian, would you like to try the Rock strudel? Admit it, Lillian, you have feelings for The Rock. And then Lillian says, more than ever, Rock. And then he turns like the tables on her. It's like, what in the blue hell are you doing? You know, this is an interview. I expect you to be professional. Of course, I'm a little bit nervous, but you know, The Rock's gonna lay the smackdown on Booker T and Shane McMahon's ass.
Oh my god, I love this so much. Poor Lillian. She's she's trying to do, the interview, and of course Rock first turns it on her, but with everything like saying that she has feelings for him, and the best line of it is like, admit it, Lillian, you get wet. With perspiration. He says that, they takes his sunglasses off and then completes the sentence. Of course, everyone, after he says you get wet, everyone gasps because they think what they were thinking. But and then he does would you like to try the Rock strudel? And then she finally cracks, and it says more than anything in the world, and then Rock chastises her about it. Funny stuff there, and again, just good. Rock, putting the match over at Unforgiven, putting over the 8-man tonight, and then just having some more fun at Lillian's expense. So I really, this is one of my unheralded favorite Rock moments, just because of how he completely gets Lillian to break there.
Austin is waiting for the next person to walk through the door, but he can't wait no more. As he opens the door, he runs right into RVD, and then he basically says, oh, the Alliance has something that they want to tell you. And then we get a European title match, the Hurricane versus the Big Show. Hurricane tries to knock down Show, but to no avail. Big Show tosses Hurricane. Hurricane tries to choke slam Big Show, but then Lance Storm interferes, but he and Hurricane get double choke slammed. I went a dud. It was not comedy at all. Here they're really pushing over the Hurricane on Raw, and then they feed him and Lance Storm to the Big Show. So I give it a dud, Steve.
I did go quarter star on it. Real quick first on Austin again. He's pacing back and forth, and he's basically like, if nobody wants to come through the door, I'll just go find somebody. And he opens the door, and who just happens to be there but RVD. So you knew eventually that was going, something like that was going to happen. And then so Hurricane had put out an open challenge for the European title that's answered by Big Show. It's funny when Hurricane first comes out, Cole is basically like, does the Alliance have health like a healthcare plan for neurological disorders? Because they're still, because the WWF announcers, him and JR, are still trying to say that Shane Helms is crazy. They're thinking he's a superhero. And then when Show comes out, Cole's like, does that same healthcare plan offer bodily harm? So because he knows Hurricane's gonna get killed. And pretty much all just comedy stuff. Hurricane trying to, he's clearly overmatched, but he's trying to, show off, and Show pretty much just dominates him. And then, and then Storm comes out at the end to save him, but then they both get the double choke slam. So, nothing doing here. Again, just kind of, like you said, kind of weird. They put Hurricane over on Raw, only to then kind of eat some crow here, thanks to Show.
Yeah, and another thing about Michael Cole, I hate when he basically just repeats JR's lines. It's like, dude, JR just said this, man. Like, don't try and reword it because it's the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
So now we have The Rock, Chris Jericho, APA, versus the Dudley Boys, Rhino and Booker T. All 8 men brawl. Farouk and Devon start. DDT to Devon. Clothesline by Bubba. Chops to The Rock. Clothesline by Rock. What's up, dive to The Rock by the Dudley Boys. Sidekick by Booker. Spinebuster to Rhino. Flapjack by Jericho. Bulldog to Booker. And a Lion Salt. 3D to Farouk. Clothesline from Hell to Devon. Rock Bottom to Booker. Walls of Jericho to Shane McMahon, who interferes. And a gore to Jericho. Booker then pins Jericho. For this matchup, I went 3 stars. I really liked the fast pace, and everyone did get their shot in at the end as well. But a very good, fun WWF versus Alliance match here.
Yeah, I went 2 1/4. Again, kind of the same. We run into the same problem that we had with the tag match on Raw, where you have like 8 guys in there that can go, and you only give them 5 minutes. It's like God, what a tease! Like, you knew, like, if they were running this on a house show, you knew these guys were getting 15, 20 minutes to close the show out. But again, I think that's that's just the downside a bit for these TV matches. But again, 8 great guys, they all get their good shine in there. We get the spam finishers at the end, and again a great finish there where Jericho's got Shane in the walls, and then Rhino's just like literally out of nowhere with that awesome just completely cutting Jericho in half with it, and then Booker takes advantage to get the win. So again, just again, a lot of, from what we got, it was a lot of fun, but God, you just wish these guys could just get some more time.
Hardcore Holly is then at WWF New York. He says, I'm ready to fight any Alliance member who wants to fight me. And it's like, well, if you're so ready, how come you haven't had a match in 6 months, because his last matchup was basically versus Kurt Angle, for a King of the Ring match, and I haven't really seen a lot of Hardcore Holly doing these during the invasion angle too. He's sort of taking a back seat, but he's like, "Oh, I'm ready." It's like, well, prove that you're ready, Bob.
He might have been there early on as part of the group, guys that would take out the Alliance guys. But yeah, for the last couple of weeks, we haven't really seen much of them. So it's just I guess they just, they've got enough. They got too many guys already. It's just somebody like him is just going to kind of get left, kind of be put on the back burner.
So RVD comes into Stone Cold's locker room, and Stone Cold says tonight RVD is Kurt Angle, and they are going to have a match. So it is Stone Cold versus Rob Van Dam. And it's a little bit of a no disqualification match, because during the match, Nick Patrick isn't counting to 5 for telling Austin to get off of RVD. Nick is letting everything go. He's like, do you want to stop Van Dam? So this matchup was very, very good. So like I said, we have Stone Cold versus Rob Van Dam. Austin lays down shots on RVD, kicks the RVD's back, spinning heel kick to Austin, chops to RVD. Austin pushes RVD off the top turnbuckle. RVD goes into the crowd, spinning heel kick to Austin. Clothesline by Austin. RVD goes into the post and steps. Suplex by Austin. Suplex onto the ramp to Austin. Drop kick to Austin. Austin counters a standing moonsault. RVD kicks a chair into Austin's face. RVD misses a 5-star frog splash. Stun to RVD. Angle's music plays, and RVD then rolls up Austin for the win. For this matchup, Steve, I went 3 stars as well.
Yeah, I went 2 3/4. I did really enjoy this match. They get the most time of both nights at almost 10 minutes, so they at least finally give some guys a good amount of time. I think this was a match everyone was waiting to see, particularly when after RVD showed up, because you're waiting to kind of see him get moved up to that main event level. And And again, it's kind of interesting. You don't see a lot of we've seen a lot of the WWF guys fight each other, but this I think might be one of the first times we've seen two Alliance guys fight each other. So so you're kind of now seeing that kind of get mixed in. I thought they had really good chemistry, kind of going back and forth, beating the crap out of each other. Some really nice spots on the outside, like I said, the suplex on the ramp looked really bad, really nasty. RVD catches Austin with a great Van Daminator with the chair, and then like instead of the end there, misses the 5-star. Austin hits the stunner, but then he goes for the ankle lock. Trying to send a message to Kurt, but then Kurt ends up turning the tables on Austin by having his music play, and Austin gets distracted, which allows RVD to win. And then Angle comes down and kind of just laughs at Austin. So Angle again gets one up on Austin, and a really big win for RVD for him to pin the WWF champion relatively clean, going into to Unforgiven. So obviously it shows that they have they see a lot in RVD, that they're going to give him not just a match like this, but a win over their number one guy. And again, just continues the great build here with Austin and Kurt.
Yeah, and like you said, this is a very big shine for Rob Van Dam. I really like that spinning heel kick he gave to Austin into the chair. I didn't think that Austin would do a spot like that, but he proved that he can still do those sort of, hardcore spots. And Austin is just beating the crap out of RVD. RVD got some very good shots in. And like for the time, this seemed crazy because it's like RVD pinned Austin. Someone pinned Stone Cold, and it's a member of his own alliance where Austin says the Alliance guys are selfish for wanting to fight each other. He wouldn't even let RVD and Raven fight for the hardcore title. He was like, "Yo, you guys are being selfish. Help me beat Kurt Angle." But RVD, I'm gonna fight you tonight because I'm mad.
Well, again, it just continues to play into Austin's paranoia, where Angle's clearly getting under his skin. He can't take it. That's why he's went on the whole thing about whoever the next guy comes to the door is going to get his ass whooped, and it just happens to be RVD. So at this point, Austin is become so fixated and so just obsessed with Kurt that he's willing to kind of push aside he doesn't care about the infighting anymore, as long as it just helps him prove his point.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to do it from us here on the shows. But Steve, what would you like to point the listeners to?
Well, in addition, I know we also do our own show here on the Wrestling Feed, of course, Extreme Resurrection, where we're going through ECW from 2006 to 2010. We're currently in October of 2007, on the cusp of Cyber Sunday, where we will find out who CM Punk will face for the ECW who CM Punk will defend the ECW title against, per the fan vote. It'll either be Big Daddy V, John Morrison, or The Miz. So we'll continue to see where that goes. Plus, looks like Balls Mahoney and Kelly are going to finally go on their long-awaited dates. So we'll see how that ends up, as well as anything else going on the show there. I also can be found on the PTB Pop Experience with a bunch of shows there. Pop Goes to Classics, Making Mount Rushmore, and the Video Jukebox Song of the Day. Also, you can find me over on the PTB Facebook group, where we have our current tournament going on, which is the greatest cartoon of all time. We are currently, as of this recording, still in the first round. We've had a lot of really fun matchups to this point in the first round. We got some more to come, and I'm looking forward. We already got some intriguing matchups in the second round, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that continues to turn out as we determine what the greatest cartoon of all time is, as determined by the PTB Nation.
Yep, just keep on clicking with the votes. As for me, you can also find me on the Place to Be Nation Pop feed, where me and John Kesselika have a new podcast called Whatever It Takes, a Degrassi pod. For those of you of the Place to Be Nation that have watched Degrassi, me and John are going over the episodes. Episodes 1 and 2, we do 2 episodes. It was called Mother and Child Reunion, where the adults who went to Degrassi are having their 10-year reunion, and Emma wants to meet a guy named Jordan. So it kind of discusses the the rights and wrongs of the internet and meeting strangers online while the adults are having their reunion. So if you watch Degrassi, listen to Whatever It Takes. Well, that's going to do it from us here on Nation Invasion. I want to thank my guest, Steve Riddle. Be prepared as we, the nation, bring the invasion.